video is going to be about my birth control experience with nexplanon. I was on it for 3 years. I did a video all about that when I first got it in, if you're interested, but this is my follow-up. As I said I would do after 3 years of having it. I'm going to be talking about my experience with it, my regrets, my side effects, and why I decided after 3 years of having it and having it removed that I am doing a birth control detox. I am not on any birth control right now, and a lot of it has to do with my experience. So I wanted to do a video on it. If you are at all interested, please continue watching, and I hope that you find anything in this video to be helpful in your own journey finding what's best for you. But let's go ahead and just get right into it. Alright, so I always like to start these videos with a disclaimer. I am in no way a medical professional. Everything in this video is going to be just based off of my experience. I find it really helpful to hear experiences, especially when it comes to things like this, to hear other women's experiences to help me be an advocate for myself, just so that I'm aware of these things, because I feel like they're not talked about enough. But if there is anything that you want to, change about your current, whether it's birth control or whatever you take away from this video, I really highly advise talking to your doctor about your specific needs and questions, just because it is different person by person. What may work for me, may not work for me, may work with you or not. So it really is different for each person, which is something I want to make clear, and I just hope that you do find something helpful. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. So I have like my little notes here, and I've been journaling a lot about it because I wanted to keep track of everything as it's happening, because it's so easy to forget about it as time goes on. My birth control history, I go more to depth into a video I'll link below, but just briefly, I've been on birth control since I was 15. I'm editing the video right now. I actually was looking at my old video that I posted about my birth control experience, because I haven't watched it since I posted it in 2019. I say in the video that I actually started with the pill at the age of 12, which is true. I keep thinking it's 15, but it's not, because I started it in middle school, not high school. Oh my god, I'm so bad at math. 8 plus, I'm almost 25. 8 plus 5, 13 years. I've been on the pill, I've had an IUD, and then I had the nexplanon arm implant for the past 3 years. I would say that the nexplanon was my least favorite out of all the three. The insertion process, if you really want to get into the details, be sure to check out that video. I didn't have that good of an insertion process, but it didn't really have to do with the birth control. It was probably like my medical care team. I was really like unprofessional, which kind of hindered my experience with that. I was told beforehand by some really close girlfriends of mine and their friends also, basically anyone I personally had known that had the arm implant, nexplanon, has had a bad experience. And I don't know, I just thought that for me to find out if it's best for me, I have to, have my own experience, because not everyone has the same experience. But across the board, I'd say that a lot of the symptoms that these girls were saying, even if they didn't know each other, were similar to each other. So I made sure to kind of keep that in the back of my mind, and to also make aware of the people around me to maybe pay attention to anything that might change in the way that I act or behave drastically after having it. I feel like it's better to hold myself accountable if I have other people kind of, in on it at least, because it's hard to tell when you're in it if it's just you're like, just the way you feel, or if it's being affected by the birth control. So the side effects when I first had it in was mood swings. And when I say mood swings, I mean like I cried a lot and out of nowhere, and for sometimes no reason at all, or like things that wouldn't typically upset me did. My personality, I'm pretty level-headed. I don't get really like angry or mad easily, and I do cry, but I know why I'm crying when I cry. And it was like I was crying for reasons that didn't make any sense to me. It was really confusing, and I feel like I was a lot more irritable. I was you know, just doing things out of my character because I was feeling like not myself. That's something that my boyfriend had noticed too. It was really difficult because like I knew why, but I didn't know how long I would feel like that. So I just kept thinking, well, it's just like me adjusting to it. Like I don't want to take it out right away because sometimes it just takes a couple months to get used to. Mood swings, random crying, I get like really sad, like deep sadness, more negative thoughts than I usually would have, brain fog. I kind of have like a feeling of dullness. Sometimes the things that I would typically laugh a lot about or like be really happy about, I didn't really feel like any way about it. I think looking back and reflecting on it now, I'm realizing it more, but in the moment, it's just like, maybe it's just how I feel. I just moved to a new state at that time and I was like, maybe I'm just going through it. It's kind of when I got diagnosed with depression was a couple months after I had the arm implant. So it was hard for me to really differentiate what was caused by my birth control and what wasn't. Those were things that I was feeling immediately after having it. I just didn't feel good. I felt depressed. I was sad a lot, angry a lot, just not myself. And actually, for the first year, I really was like, oh, I need to take this out. I kept telling myself, I need to take this out. I can't do this anymore. I need to take this out. And my boyfriend was like, you need to take it out. You're not, you know, as happy as you used to be and all that stuff. And I also had spotting every day. I've never really had a consistent period or cycle. I used to have really heavy periods for like 3 weeks at a time, which is why I went on birth control originally. When I went on different types of birth control, I had different cycles because of it. And the nexplanon was different because I wasn't having like a heavy period at all, like ever really, but I was spotting every single day at least. And I'd have like slightly heavier than spotting, but that's it, like every now and then. But yeah, every day I was spotting, which was really annoying because I was never not really like on my period. So that really sucked. And that was like that for the first 2 years. I was spotting every single day. And then the last year, the first like 3 months or so, 4 months or so, I was spotting. And then my period just went away. Like I didn't have any period at all. And even now, so I had my nexplanon taken out, a month ago. And I still don't have a period. So I haven't had a period for the past like 7 months. So that's something. I don't know when I'll get my period back. I haven't, like I said, haven't had any spotting even after a month of being off. I was told by my doctor that, you know, it would take some time. Yeah, it was just not a good experience. I just didn't feel like myself. I kind of lost a lot of, like, the stuff that I was interested in before, I lost interest in. I didn't really feel as connected to experiences or even people in my life. And this is like really, honestly, really sad to talk about. Because looking back, I'm like, wow, it's just like life was dulled. But it became normal for me. And I just like accepted it as me getting older. I'm like, I'm not young and like, I'm not as young as I was. Like, it's just, you know, with COVID too, it's like, it's just so many things that kind of were changing. And the things that made me happy before weren't happening. And I'm sure like that definitely had a factor in it, like COVID, outside factors. But I think that looking back, the nexplanon had an impact on me because it was happening before all of these things, and it probably was just exacerbated by these things. And I had a hard time like regulating my mood and my feelings through this because of my birth control. So that was my experience. I posted about it on my Instagram. I made it's called Viv's Diary, and it's basically where I journal, but it's like a public diary. And I just talk about anything that's, you know, been going on. I try to do daily posts. And I talked about birth control in one of my entries, and it was crazy just how many girls were going through the same thing I was with my experience with not only nexplanon but other forms of birth control as well. It really like broke my heart to think that this is just normal for so many women to just accept the side effects of a pill that I feel like is just given, or like birth control when I say the pill, but forms of birth control are just given out to so many of us, but we're not really aware of what it's doing to us, because hormones are what are in the birth control, right? But like, you can't target that. You can't just take birth control and have it target your inability to have a baby. It affects your hormones throughout your body, and those affect your mood, personality, your ability to deal with stress, your preference in the things that you do, and the people that you have in your life, and how you experience life, like overall. And I've been reading more about it now, just because I really realized once taking out my nexplanon that I wanted to do something different besides just go back into a different type of birth control. And I'm gonna be sharing my experience with that as well with you guys. But I wanted to start off by following up on how the past 3 years have been with this birth control. Okay, so those are basically the side effects. I wanted to also talk about the actual process of having it removed, because it is a small procedure that I really did not want to deal with. I was supposed to take it out actually in the very beginning of December, but I didn't get it taken out until the middle of January because I was putting it off. I don't know, I was just super nervous. I ended up making an appointment to get it taken out. There I sat on the bed thing. She talked about my next round of birth control, and I was like, I don't want to do anything, and then kind of asked her some questions, and then she proceeded to do the removal process. So basically what it is it's not too different than the insertion process. They numb the area with this like syringe numbing thingy, and that needle hurts. That hurt. Like I've had like little tattoos and whatnot, and I have like cartilage piercing, belly button piercing. I did not like it. I really did not like the numbing needle, but I would rather be numbed than feel the nexplanon taken out. So you know, it is part of dealing with it. But it's a slight pinch of the needle for a good like 10 to 15 seconds as the area begins to numb. A couple minutes for it to set in. She made an incision, like a really small incision, and then took the thing out. She wanted to keep the hole pretty small to reduce the amount of scarring, but because of that, she had a harder time taking the actual implant out. It was a lot of like tugging, and I felt like I could faint. Like I usually am fine if it's fast and I'm done with it, but it's like it was taking too long, and the idea of what was happening just really like, ugh. But yeah, I just like didn't look, and I had my arm like this, and then she like was like, ooh, like it doesn't want to come out, like it's in there, and I'm like, I don't want to hear about that, okay. and she kept tugging, and she said it kept like sucking back in, and I was like, I don't need that like visual in my head. I just want it to be out and done with. But the actual time of her tugging on my arm, and I knew like blood was coming out because she kept having to like get new tissues to wipe it, and I was like, oh, I just want this to be done with. It probably took like, I'd say like 7 or 8 minutes of tugging, which is a lot slower when someone's doing that. Those minutes go by so slow. So I filled up that time with a bunch of questions about, should I go off birth control? What are my options? What's the difference between what I was on and other forms of birth control? Just trying to utilize that time to just get more information that I've been wondering about as I'm beginning this detox. And yeah, so she ended up taking it out, and then she asked me, do you want to see it? And I was like, no, please. I'm done. Thank you. And then she, cleaned it up and stuff like that. And then she wrapped it with you know, that gauze or whatever, like put a little band-aid and wrapped it with gauze. When she was done, I was like, okay, can I go now? And I asked her if I if I ended up needing a form of birth control in a couple months, could I just contact her and possibly go on the pill? That way I can figure out if that works for me, if I need it down the road. And then she said, yeah, just message me on the portal for, you know, for my doctor's thingy, because I don't plan on going anytime soon, but it's an option if I wanted to. So I wanted to kind of, you know, have that conversation so I don't have to make a whole different appointment, because they're really hard to get nowadays. So I did that, and then I went to the car and I was like, wow, I am birth control free officially. And I was like super excited to experience that for the first time, and like relieved that I got it done with. Oh yeah, so anyone that watched my last video, I had really bad bruising, but when I got it removed, I didn't have any bruising at all. Like I literally, I had like a tiny little one. I bruise like a peach, like I bruise so easily. So it was like a tiny little one around the incision, like not even really. I don't know, that's just, I don't know if it's because of the way she did it, or if it was my body just wasn't fighting something foreign in it anymore. It was just healing from it. A lot of my friends that had it removed had blisters. I didn't have any blisters, but that might be something that is possible since my friends had that experience. So that was my removal process. I am doing this video because I want to make, you know, anyone aware that is interested in it, what the possible side effects of it are, or if anyone that has had it has had a similar experience, that you're not the only one. I do have to say, I haven't taken it out that long ago. Like I said, it's only been like less than a month. So I don't want to, you know, go out here and say like, I'm a brand new woman, like blah, blah, blah. My body had a lot of changes when I had it in. And since having it out, I expect it to take time for me to adjust to that new change. But there are some things that I have noticed. One of the things I did expect that did happen is I have been crying a lot more easily, more often, which it's weird though, because it's not really like I'm depressed and like I don't like want to exist crying like I had. It's more just like, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm like, let it be, because like I'm human. I cry sometimes, and I know especially now because I'm going through a change, and it's like a clarity to it though, you know, so it's not like a bad cry. Also, when I had the nexplanon, I didn't cry that much. Like after the beginning, I didn't really cry that much afterwards. Like I felt detached from my experiences. Like growing up, I've always been kind of a sensitive person, but when I had the nexplanon, I stopped crying. I was like toughened up, but not in a good way. It was more like because I didn't feel happy or sad. But since I've had it taken out, I have been crying randomly. I cry watching stuff that isn't even sad. I just find it like, I don't know, I just cry. I'm tired more. I find myself like physically tired more. Overall, I feel better. I know I'm crying more, but like I said, it's not like a bad cry thing. And I know it's because I'm adjusting. And I've been reading a lot about what exactly birth control does to your brain. And it's like light bulbs for me. It's really clicking for why I felt the way I felt, why I'm feeling the things I feel now. I feel like I am allowing myself to be an advocate for my health and my mental health, especially when it comes to this, because detoxing, I know why I want to do it, and I am being aware of the changes, and I wanted to share it with you guys because there's so much I think that we should be made aware about that we aren't, and I wish I would have known before. But yeah, I highly recommend this book if you are interested in learning more about what I'm mentioning, and I want to talk more about it. I don't think I should in this video just because this video would be very long, and like I said, everyone has a different experience. In fact, sometimes birth control can make you feel better. There are such things as being on something that is compatible with your body, that supports your body, but alongside, there are going to be ones that don't. So it's a journey finding out what works best for everyone. So as far as different types of birth control that I considered, I decided not to and just go off completely. In case any of you are interested in alternatives, if you don't want to completely go off, figure if they're right for you, is the non-hormonal IUDs. They have like a copper one and like more long-term ones. With that though, I can't do that because I am kind of sensitive to metals as is, just like externally. So I don't want to risk having that inside of me, and I don't want to scare anyone, but I do know it is too common for the copper to embed into your uterus. When people have gotten it removed, it looks a lot different than when it goes in, and the copper it doesn't like disappear into thin air. It gets absorbed by your body, and something like that can be pretty detrimental. The reason I'm bringing that up is I just want to be transparent. Those are the reasons why I decided not to go that route. I know for some people it does work though, but those are just possibilities. And then the pill, I didn't want to do the pill because I just didn't want to do anything hormonal. There is a thing such as like tracking your cycle and figuring out your window of ovulation, and those are like red days, and then that way you can figure out what days it's safe to have sex. And there's like different apps, and like you take your temperature, and you can really like accurately map it, and it's very effective actually. The reason I can't do that is because I don't have a cycle right now. I know that it's really dependent on when you have your period and I just don't have anything to go off of right now. So that's not going to work for me at the moment. I'm hoping one day that'll be something I can do. Once I have more of a consistent cycle, I'm really, really interested in that because it's not hormonal, it's very natural. What else? I know that there's like depot shots, and then there's also the NuvaRing. Also not a big fan of hormone stuff at the moment, just because I just don't want to if it works for the time being, but those are some different options. The IUD I have had before. My experience was actually better than nexplanon with the IUD, but yeah, I just don't want to do it again if I don't have to. And then yeah, the nexplanon is the absolute worst. But yeah, and this is in no way, I'm not trying to scare anyone that is on it or is on any birth control that you're doing the wrong thing, that you shouldn't be on it, just stop. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I do think that if you are feeling things that you know you shouldn't, it's not just in your head. It's not just a side effect to brush off and deal with it and like let that just be who you are. If you feel off because of something that you can maybe get off of and then change to something that makes you feel better. It may not be the first time, maybe the second time, but if you don't recognize that it is happening, it's really hard to find something that does work for you, right? So that's why I wanted to talk about that. Nexplanon did not work for me. So my way of dealing with that is to do a detox and see how I feel completely off of it. So far, so good. So I'm really excited to see how the next couple months feel, and hopefully it'll be something where I'm like, this is good for me. I do want to like be completely transparent with my experience because I really want to help any of you that are going through this, because it's hard sometimes. It's really, really hard to explain these things when you don't feel like anyone else is going through it. But there are other people going through it, and I am one of them. We just have to know that like health is wealth. It's important. It should be utmost important. Only you can be an advocate for yourself because you are going through it, you are experiencing it, and unfortunately no one else can go in and fix it for you, only you can. But that's also very hopeful because there are options out there. We just have to, make the decisions and make the changes to see it through. I hope that I answered all of your guys' questions, but if you are interested in learning more about, you know, my past experiences with birth control and my experience now, my journey with going off. Let me know in the comments. I do kind of do a more consistent report, I guess, of my progress on my Instagram account, Viv's Diary, up close and personal side of my life, and especially with this, I've been documenting it on that account. That is it for today's video. I hope that you guys found anything to be helpful. But yeah, let me know, and be sure to comment, like, and subscribe for more videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Love you very much. Take care of yourself. Bye.